Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first nightly recap here at the 2022 USDGC and Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy. How are you guys doing tonight? Welcome, everyone. And look at you guys already jumping on it. A couple people in the chat. Jeff, Jake, others. Thank you guys so much. As always, because I'm going to be a one-man show, at least pressing the buttons, I will start out by asking just a few simple questions of double checking that everything looks and sounds okay. There's only so much I can do with the aesthetics here of my mug, but hopefully everything sounds all right and looks good enough for you guys. I'm going to be clicking on a few buttons. I'm going to also have to go out and do my best to maybe even promote this once we know that everything is working out. I see JT Disc Golf, I Heart Disc Golf, Joe PG, so some regulars out there. So please, if you guys could, let me know that everything sounds okay. It appears that it does. All is well. Sounds great, Kevin says. All right, so I'm going to just make a couple of minor adjustments here and to make sure that everything is working on the YouTube side. We're going to call this the DGI Hangouts, so on and so forth. I guess I'm going to have to create a list. Everything looks great. Brock, I appreciate it. Brock, you are often one of the very first people to always respond to my Instagram stories and posts, and I appreciate that. You are always on top of it, so thank you. All right, I'm going to just click on a couple more things here on the YouTubes to make sure that it is good to go. Click here. Thank you. Save. Okay. It's been a while since we got a nightly recap, stupid idiot says. Well, yeah, I think the very last one that I officially did was European Open. At least when I was digging around in my system, that's what I found. So if you're new here, which most of you probably aren't, but if you are, this is it makes me chuckle just talking about it, but this is a unique scenario where some nights after some large scale events, after days of being at a large scale event, and it doesn't have to be a large scale event, could be any event, but I occasionally like to jump here on my channel and to discuss the daily happenings, the either things that went down, things that could be going down, some form of review or analysis. I don't want to get quite that fancy. I don't know if that's where I go with it, but talk about things that were happening. Of course, today is not quite yet competition here at the Throw Pink in the USDGC. We had instead the press conference that took place where we had quite a few of our players that we were interviewing and talking to throughout the day. We also had a couple Hall of Famers. I think we got some great information out of them. No surprise, as we've been having them all year. But then we had the opening ceremony that took place here, which I made sure to attend as well. I've seen a lot of opening ceremonies at a lot of big events. And yet again, USDGC has changed up the formula just a little bit. And tonight was unique, especially from anything that we've seen before at the USDGC or at the Throw Pink Championship. So very, very fun. Yeah, great day. And we'll get into a bunch of that stuff. Also, on these shows, not only am I the only guy pressing the buttons, so if something's going wrong, please, shout, yell at me if something happens, and I can hopefully fix or address it. But that means that things are going to be just a tad clunkier than normal. There's not a team of people pressing buttons and taking audible cues from me. So yeah, just bear with me as we go through this. One of my favorite things though about this is the interaction. So if you have something you want to talk about or something that you have a question on that I could possibly address, feel free, put it in the chat. If you put it in there with a super chat, I probably will see it that much quicker and easier, honestly, because that's what super chats do. They jump off the page at you. But otherwise, just, throw it in the chat and we'll see what we can do. All right. Yard Sales and Dream says, "Hey Terry, I remember you doing a recap of Europe. I think I don't know if I was live for one or two of those nights. Those were some of the longest days of the year, and I don't just mean sunlight wise. I mean 4 hours on the course, field reporting for the FPO, 4 hours field reporting for MPO, a couple of final interviews, and then doing 2.5 or so or 3 hours or whatever it was of post production for FPO." Made for literally the longest days of my year. That was tough. All right. So who is? We'll start here. We'll start with a basic question or two. I fully admit I will likely jump around from place to place. We might get fancier. I know I will definitely talk a little bit about UDisc. We pull them in. They're unofficial, they're not sponsors, and I unofficially just kind of plug them all the time because they're amazing. But so we will talk about that. But also throughout the week, we'll have some clips or we'll have some other things to show you guys as that unfolds. Again, hopefully you're patient with me on that. I'm going to make a quick one more additional post onto the Facebooks. There we go. Now it's out there. So, who's on the mic for this weekend? Here's what I know as of right now, Jake, to answer your question. And no, I heart disc golf. You have that incorrect. So, as far as I was last told, we tomorrow morning will have Charlie Eisenhood, who will be your host, and he will be with Juliana Corver and Zoe Andike. That's what I was last told today. I believe Nate Perkins is going to be out on the ground as your field reporter, and that's going to put Brian Earhart talking to a few of the players as they come off the course. And it won't just necessarily be about their hot round. He may have other angles, and he's going to talk to them, and that will get banked, as we call it, and put onto the Disc Golf Network as additional content. So oftentimes when we have competitors come off of a course, usually they just shot a hot round, and then you pull them in and then we have a conversation with them. And sometimes we even cut into the live feed to then hear from them. This won't, that could still happen. However, the main focus for Brian in the mornings and me in the afternoon is to grab people off the course that just got off the course, or other dignitaries or other important people maybe here at the event. They don't have to be on the course, but grab people, having a conversation with them, 2, 3, 5-minute interview, and that will all be put on the Disc Golf Network platform as bonus content and material, in addition to all the live and the post and everything else. So that's all going to be out there. And so that leads to the afternoons, which will have Ian and Philo in the booth. Maybe still Nate Perkins in the field. That I honestly I don't know for a fact, but Nate Perkins probably in the field, and I will be doing what Brian did in the morning, which is I will be then talking to MPO players and other people of interest, not in a legal way, but talking to other MPO players that will be coming off the course, and then that will get banked. And then when I'm done, and this is me selfishly speaking, when I'm done, shortly after that obligation, I'm going to be traveling a little bit north, where I'm going to be meeting with Christine Jennings, and we're going to be meeting up with the GK Pro guys who are ultimately assembling and then putting together the FPO post-production footage. And then myself and Christine Jennings will do all of the FPO post-production commentary. And Brian Earhart will team up with Nate Sexton, and they'll be doing all the MPO post-production commentary. Holy cow, that's a lot of things, but hopefully that all makes perfect sense to you guys. So, Warrior of Sunlight says, "You will do great as always. I'm excited for a great weekend of golf." I am too. I appreciate the kind words there. Expectations are high for this, Terry. I in terms of what? In terms of the broadcast, in terms of the play, in terms of the interview quality. I'm not sure what you're referencing. Stupid Idiot asks a fair question, which is, and I say it's especially fair because I don't know. He asks, will the final round stream on YouTube for free, or is it only on DGN? That's honestly a great question. Normally, by default, I would say yes, the final round for sure will be on YouTube. I don't know that this one will be. I something tells me it won't be, but I can honestly say I don't know. So we'll have to get back with that one. Jake says interview Cupcake after his round tomorrow. I saw him at the player meeting tonight, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Of course, he's continues to blossom into a superstar out there. Clayton says he's trashed. Okay, cheers to that, Clayton. I'm not. Hmm. New course layout looks great. I can get behind that. When do you get a Segway? That's a good question, Lenny. Here, without getting too far sidetracked right off the bat, I hesitate to get a one wheel or a Segway because I think naturally, and call this my own uh, self self consciousness. I think naturally, as soon as you put a bigger overweight guy on like a Segway or a one wheel or any other device of that nature, the first thing people think when you go by is that guy could probably use just the walking, and that's part of the reason why I continue to hold off. Because honestly, a little extra walking doesn't hurt me. Although sometimes when you're walking as much as I do, I think even people that are really in shape sometimes wear out and get tired when you walk a couple rounds a day, depending on the terrain and your schedule for the week. But anyway, there's a very intentional reason I don't have a scooter or a Segway or a one wheel or any of those, because I think a lot of people immediately are like, yeah, maybe you should walk. Uh, Although I think you could get some really cool shots eventually and could get a lot of other coverage, but that's a whole nother story. Interviewed Joseph Anderson after tomorrow's round. He just qualified on Monday. Yes, he did. I saw that. Um, if I get a chance, yeah, especially if he shoots, I'm going to say even remotely decent, and that's not to say he wouldn't, but if he shoots well, it would be awesome to just get some insights and get to know him a little bit better. I think that's a fair statement. What's the beer? Don't get me started, but I am a Founders Backwoods Bastard fan. If you've ever been here before, you know that sometimes this becomes troublesome, not in like a legal way, but I do enjoy a double barreled stouts and ales, bourbon barrels, ideally. And Backwoods Bastard is on the top of that list. So we're going to keep things in check here tonight. A golf cart like the ones they have where your parents live. Yeah, golf carts. The only problem with golf carts is you need the super quiet ones, and this place provides so many roads and pathways, and it's just so tough to not be distracting to players. And I know there's been a very conscious effort during some of the years to reduce that traffic, even just golf cart traffic, even if it's quiet. It's just that constant moving and golf carts ripping around. And it's usually by volunteers or support. And, they often or usually have good reason to be going and doing what they're doing. It's just you put 10 golf carts out there and 10 people ripping around for a day, you're all but guaranteeing at some point they're going to disrupt play somewhere, inadvertently, but they're going to disrupt play. And that's one of the drawbacks. And I'll be the first person to say, if I'm out on hole 13 and I want to get back, yeah, I want somebody to grab a cart and bring me back the mile to the beginning, especially if I'm in a hurry. I get that. And golf carts will continue to be used, but that's one of the downsides is when you have people ripping around on golf carts or other any other kind of vehicle, there's always a better chance for it to create a distraction. All right. I am going to do just like that. We're already way off in left field with lots of questions, which is great. As you guys will be able to quickly tell, not a hard and steadfast agenda here. So I want to get through some of these. Yeah, Joe says, yeah, great for an on-course reporter so they don't have to be breathing heavily while talking on the broadcast. I'll be the first to admit, like, there's a timing issue with that. Yeah, if you want to be in a position where you're hopefully, if you're getting called on, you're not walking, or if you were walking, you can hopefully stop and quit walking so that you can then collect your breath. And let's be, I've learned this, believe it or not. I think even people that are really in shape, just breathe heavily, or sound a little bit breathier, um, just by the nature of being physical and moving around. And it can be really tough. And I know that can also be distracting for the viewer, but hopefully everybody's conscious of it as much as they can be. All right. Terry, I would think you like barley wine beers. You happen to be right on that, Eric. Certain ones, but it seems like this high alcohol content seems to be where I've fallen in a particular subset or two of specific beverages that I enjoy. When are you going to do interview Jonathan Gomez on Smashbox? I mean, we had him on a few years ago. I'd take him any day. I don't know if somebody thinks that there's um, some kind of issue there or gotcha or not or beef or anything, but there's not. I think we could probably say that of 100 people when you're going to have blank on. But yeah, we'd have Jonathan on anytime. I mean, often for what it's worth, we have usually the default for Smashbox on Tuesday nights is to go to either winners or top performers from the previous weekend's big event. Usually, that's clearly not always the case. When Kristen Tatar wins 4 straight weekends in a row, if we have her on one of those weeks, that suffices. And then from there, it's very whimsical, believe it or not, if you've seen our show, as to who we have on after that. And we could have whomever. I don't know that we've ever. Let's put it this way: no one's ever reached out to us and we're like, no, we're not having you. And I don't think we've ever really shied away from a topic or a person or a situation. So anyway, Jomez hates Terry. That might be true. I don't think so, but it could be. I don't know. I know I don't hate any of them. I love bourbons, bourbon barrel beer. My mind went to bourbon balls. Okay, I don't think I've had bourbon balls. I don't I don't know that I want to. The weather is looking fantastic, and here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna test this out, folks. All right, for a moment, I'm gonna head over, and you guys can yell at me if this doesn't work. I hope it does. I'm gonna click on this button, and it should show us a different screen where I have pulled up the weather. You see all the various places I live or where I've been, which is pretty funny. Georgia, Emporia, Worcester, when I'm checking out on what was happening. Southeastern Wisconsin, where I sell discs. Tampere, Finland, when I was there. So it's kind of creepy, but kind of cool. As I look back. So we are going to take a look at. Wow, I can't type. You're going to see this live. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me. Rock Hill, South Carolina. And I'm just going to tell you, I think it looks gorgeous for the weekend, but it's a great question nonetheless. Thursday, tomorrow, 80, high of 80, sunny, 5-mile-an-hour winds. Friday, high of 82, mostly sunny, high of 4-mile-per-hour winds. Seriously? Can you guys not see this? I apologize. There we go. 69. It cools, so it's going to cool down considerably. It goes from 82 as a high to 69 on Saturday. So that's pretty crazy. Whoops. I don't know how I condensed those. I just screwed it up. But a high of 69 only on Saturday. So 13 miles per hour, or I'm sorry, 13 degrees cooler. And then Sunday, 70. So the last 2 days, and then look at it, it says sunny pretty much for the next few days. So I think we're going to see sunshine, very light winds. Somebody asked in my comments earlier today via Instagram after I posted a story, and they had said, what they wanted to know if the course was going to play too easy in perfect conditions this weekend. And if I would have seen that question earlier before the press conference, I would have probably snuck it in somewhere. But the long and short of it is no, I don't think it'll play too easy. You're not going to see people, you're not going to see a dozen people all shoot, 10 under, on the daily. It's not going to happen that way. And Paul talked a lot about, I thought one of the more interesting things in the press conference today was Macbeth saying, unofficially, he thinks like 3-ish under on the front 9 and, 5, 6, 7 on the back, he thinks would be a solid round. And clearly take that with a sprinkle of salt in terms of what his skill sets are and things going right. I think that's very telling for him. And then we look at Chris Dickerson and he's asked, "Hey, do you have a number in mind?" He's like, "I have no idea." Which I can also appreciate. And part of the logic to that, and a lot of our players will say this, they don't like to come up with a number because as soon as you're off pace for that number, you start pushing and or getting frustrated with yourself. If you think, yes, this course is a 9 under all day, I absolutely should be shooting at least 9 under, and then you get to hole 8 and you're 1 under, you're thinking, "Oh man, if I'm trying to get to my number, I got to birdie, you know, 7 out of the last 8 or 8 out of the last 9 or 8 out of the last 10, whatever. Do the math." So a lot of players, I think, really try to steer clear of picking a number. They have a general idea of, oh, I think anywhere from 5 to 7 might be a good round, but I think a lot of them try to steer clear. And I think that's great advice for anyone of any skill level. Honestly, it doesn't even just have to be a top pro. Don't put that pressure on yourself, because if all of a sudden you took a bogey on a hole you were really planning on birdieing, and now you're way off of your pace or your ideal pace, you're going to start getting frustrated and put additional pressures on yourself. All right, I'm going to continue to read a few more. So weather looks great. Great question. Paul, what's up? I hope you're well. Cubs game next year with you, Paul. Quite possibly. It's disappointing I didn't get a chance to get to one this year. I think I went to one Brewer game in Milwaukee, but I didn't get a chance to go to any Cubs games. Yeah, I just need to change my priorities a little. Jonathan Van Derzen, Johnny V, my Smashbox co-host, says we could interview Jay Gomez when something significant happens with them. Yeah, that would be the most likely time to do so. Maybe they have a big contract or a big announcement or a big series or something. I'd be all about it. Can we talk about how strange the PDGA survey about trans athletes got? I'm going to try and I knew this would obviously get discussed, so I'm going to just very, very, very quickly throw out just one little thing on it. This survey was not explicitly and exclusively designed or written by the PDGA. This was a survey that was put together by some other academic researchers. There is, I do not have all the details in front of me, but there is some very, very strict policies, guidelines, very strict things that have to happen for a survey of this nature and for the research that they're looking to do, that they had to adhere to. But this group of people that's not PDGA related. Justin Menichelli, who has the PhD, who was used to serve on the board and ultimately send the email and so on and so forth. He is a conduit. He is one of those middlemen. He had an active role with the survey and its development. But just to be very clear, good, bad, or indifferent, no matter where you're sitting on all of this, Justin Menichelli, for example, did not sit down and then draft this up. And I know there's a lot of hate being thrown toward him. And if you dislike him or hate him or have your reasons, like, that's all on you. I just want to throw it out there that he did not sit down and construct this. And there's a very intense and rigorous process that this went through. Now, do you disagree with how it was asked? I get it. Absolutely. Like, clearly there's some unique phrasing and questioning within there. I get all of that. Some people are like fine with it. Some people are massively offended. Some people don't get the correlation. I don't, but I don't need to because I'm not a researcher. But I think here's where the biggest miss was, in my opinion. The biggest miss is the fact that I believe that everyone thought they were going to get seemingly going to get a 3-question survey that says, yes, trans athletes should compete in disc golf, no, or they shouldn't, or tell us how you feel, or whatever. It was going to be constructed and it was going to be exclusively those things. Clearly, by the form of the research crew and people who I don't know, clearly they're arriving at other research that they were trying to gather. And I get it. I get that it came across very strange and odd and out of left field. I don't understand all the philosophy to it. I also don't need to understand it. That's what I'll say about it. And it's I just feel like it really what for sure happened is a lapse of clarity in what the survey may contain and or could accomplish. And that's why I think there were so many people that were really frustrated today. And I fully understand that. I know in our podcast, we tried to, just simply say, hey, it's going to be coming and this may affect policy and it may affect how the board does stuff. I saw one of our top competitors today said this thing was nothing. This was for the medical committee putting it out. It was nothing medical about it. And that is, I feel like, a fair statement from a like a very drilled down perspective. The thing is, this research was not exclusively for and only for disc golf, written by disc golf for disc golf. I don't want to say that was secondary, but that was just a component of it. And I'll say this: I feel like Sarah Hokum, in a few different places, in so many words, probably said a lot of what I just said much more eloquently. But she talked about research and how it has to be done and things that go along with it. Now, again, I haven't even looked at the comments. I'm sure a lot of you are screaming, and that's fine. I'm just telling you my understanding of it as to how it went down, and clearly it what blew me away, and hence I made a somewhat of a vague Facebook post. What blew me away about it is largely how massively offended people perceived it as when it's asking for voluntary questions. It's asking voluntary questions that you didn't you could quit at any time, you could choose not to answer or whatever, but just the simple asking of questions. And I'm yeah. I was surprised for so many people that have had very strong opinions, and understandably so. But to then be asked some questions that you don't understand how they tie together, it just I was kind of surprised by how much it worked people up. That's what I can say about it. Again, I'm not a researcher. I don't have a PhD. I don't have a master's. I'm not in psychology, biology, any of those things. Just like I didn't have a virology degree when it came to COVID conversations. Like, I don't claim to have any of that knowledge. That's for people that are beyond my capacity. And I certainly don't have a biology degree. And I understand the impassioned responses by everybody on every side. And all I'll continue to say is, I want us to treat other humans with respect. And if policy needs to change, I'm good with that. If it doesn't, I'm good with that. Whatever the case is, I just want to see us treat other humans as humans. That's my only concern, which is funny because everybody thinks they have me like locked into knowing exactly how I feel. And it's like, I've never even really explicitly said anything except for be nice to each other. All right. Wow. So that was a lot. But hopefully I've kind of said my piece on it. Um, Nick and Matt are nicking all your guests now. Yeah, I mean, I will. You're going back to our podcast. Yeah, I mean, them having their show on Monday night. Real quick, there's a reason our show wasn't. I'm often traveling on Mondays, and so to always come back or not necessarily get back in time to then have a show on Monday night after I had just been gone for 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 days or whatever it was to cover an event. That's part of the reason why Smashbox opted to be on Tuesdays, and same with our players. I mean, how often are our players like on the road on Mondays? And so that was very much by design. And when Nick and Matt came along and said they wanted to start a show, they went with Monday, and obviously it's worked out quite well for them. So all good there. Ever had Rocky Mountain oysters? I don't know if you're talking to me, but I'm going to just answer that and say no. Bourbon balls is a Kentucky candy tradition. Next time you get to Idlewild, that sounds like I might have to. Good job, Terry. Players and fans what they want. Maybe you should work for the PDGA. No, and and I know some people are probably screaming, saying you're just a PDGA apologist or shill or something for them. I'm not saying that either. I'm just simply stating what I know and understand of it, and I'm trying to share that perspective. Proof that you are open-minded on Smashbox TV, the Golf Guy. You remain friendly and cordial to Steve Dodge even after you chose a different broadcaster for DGPT. You took the high road. I mean, things hurt, and sometimes we don't agree with everything, but we'd like to remain professional and cordial as much as possible, and remain, I don't know, as best as you can, remain friendly and or human to others. The course will not play too easy. I agree. The water looked higher than normal on the course. I don't think that was the case. I don't feel like it was. Someone said interview cupcake. Yep. Paul's washed up. Yeah, that's clearly a great hot take these days. The course looks to be playing tougher than it did. Do you know any details on Nico's probation being shortened? Uh, I think my only understanding is that he had appealed. Instead of a 9-month suspension, it was reduced to 6 month, and I think the probation was extended time wise, which feels like a good trade off. I think everyone would take that trade off. He's suspended for a little less time, but probation is extended for probably that same amount of time. I think everyone in almost every legal situation or other scenario would be okay with that. What's the most prepared you have been? What is the most prepared you have been for a tournament you're covering? Um, I think that's going to vary. I think most tournaments I'm writing often, especially if I'm on site. I'm writing press conference questions where I've taken that much more diligently and seriously in the last year, and talking to a lot of people. I feel like those are the scenarios. And then when I'm not on course at an event, we'll use GMC and the MVP last week. I the press conference happens on, we'll just say Wednesday night. I still then watch and listen to and take notes and take quotes for the entire press conference. That the event then starts the next day. Thankfully, for almost every single course we play these days, I've been to the course probably multiple times, and so that is something that I want to continue to always have. But those are all things that factor into me hopefully being prepared. And yes, I'd like to continue to research and freshen up on maybe some numbers or details, but largely I'm also just pulling into, my history of either the event and or the players at the event and or the organizers and the committees and the people that are involved. But I think as I get older, my memory will probably strain more. Therefore, I'll have to continue to keep up a little bit better. Yeah, the survey asked about how you felt about raising kids. Really? Again, I I will just continue to defer and say I don't know all of their objectives. I'm sure how people answer a bunch of those questions help with formulate some kind of other analysis that they're coming up with. I don't claim to understand it. I certainly don't. I won't claim to understand it. It's a survey that's voluntary to fill out or not, and I think it largely missed on everybody, not everybody, most people assuming that they were going to get a very specific, very pointed, like almost yes or no on should certain people be eligible to compete in certain divisions. And I read one thing on Facebook where someone just blasted it and said this is all slanted and this is all BS, which is fine, but then went on to say this should have been an open response survey. And I was just like, I understand where they're going with that, but you clearly don't know how then research surveys work, because if you just put out a survey and said give us your opinion, um I think it would have just went a different way, and good, bad, or indifferent. But could you just imagine realistically putting out any survey. What's your favorite disc and what color and weight is it? And then having 20,000 people reply. And I guess that's even more objective. Yeah. What's your favorite course? And tell us why. Put that in a survey. You're talking about years just reading through 20,000 individual responses. And then, so hopefully, maybe because there was so much response to it today, largely negative, maybe there'll be another follow-up statement with further clarifications. Don't look to me for those, but if they come, hopefully that gets posted. Um, yeah, I'm gonna try and leave it at that because I think I've almost beat that all to death. Nate is a great on-course reporter, referring to Nate Perkins. He certainly is. I felt awkward asking, questions about kids. Juliana and Zoe will kill the commentary. Great choice. Totally agree. Can I just say that I love Natalie Ryan? Sure, if you want to say that. Okay. The kids' questions weren't about kids. It was quantifying political makeup. Yep, sure. Agreed. Why does the PDGA think to ask all their members random? Well, they didn't ask all the members. They only ask members. And here's again, this leads to my Facebook post of damned if you do and damned if you don't. And my point to that really was everybody's saying do something, do something, do something, whatever it is, do something. So the PDGA has done something, and it starts with gaining and gathering research. And then largely everyone is frustrated with the way the research was assembled. That was kind of my damned if you do and damned if you don't. And someone had said today, another classic example of that was, well, why didn't this go to my kids? My kids play. Okay, well, I feel like I could probably round up a few thousand people that'd say, why the hell did my kids get this? My kid's 12. They shouldn't be getting a survey of this nature or of this, bias or whatever you want to call it. There's seriously no winning there, right? Like, there's just no winning in that scenario because some said this should have went to my kids, and plenty of would have said, no, this absolutely shouldn't. This has no way impacts them, or should they be answering these types of questions or dealing with these, even some of these sensitive subject matters. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. That's my point. You love all humans. I like that. I'm hiding under a topic everyone wants to speak about already is tricking us into answering everything else. Yep. Okay. Ryan Pilcher, wasn't expecting a pre-event recap. I know, and I haven't even gotten to it because we're just all this other stuff. The water looked a little higher. We talked about that one. I love the thumbnail tonight. Guardian aliens representing. Truth be told, I need to get the full story. When I walked into the, let's get into that. When I walked into the vendor village or edge village, bigger than ever. There are dozens of tents of various vendors. Some very small 1-tent operations, plenty of them, which is most of them, I should say, all the way to Callie McMorrin and her massive, brand new wrapped, absolutely gorgeous, 3,000 foot long trailer or whatever she's got, and everything in between. Pharma CBD is a huge sponsor of this weekend. The rep got up there and spoke of the player pack and everything else. And Discraft is here, and why that's worth mentioning is because that's, I believe, a first, and they are here representing with like an actual Discraft trailer or two, and Discraft vending is going to be going on. And I know some of you think that's probably not a big deal, but if you've been around for a few decades, like I have, that feels like a really positive step in terms of just overall cohesiveness. And I hope everything continues to trend in that way. If you're new here, Discraft and Innova have, I'll say, largely been at odds. I mean, they're the Microsoft, Apple competitors, the Chevy, Ford, whatever, Pepsi, Coke, whatever. So to see at the flagship event, the United States Disc Golf Championship, and then to see Discraft be representing themselves and being able to be here is actually is kind of a momentous. Is that the word? Monumental? I don't know. It's a big deal. So anyway, when I walked in, I saw all these places, and then one of the things that was up was like 3 or 4 billboard-sized paintings, and I apologize that I'm gonna be a little ignorant with this one. It won't be the last time, but one of them, or the one that's part of the thumbnail, and I'm gonna pull it up for you guys actually, and this is just a little piece of it, but that's a huge billboard. I'm gonna call it a billboard. That's, painted on a 20 by 10-foot piece of wood, maybe? I mean, this is just a picture of it, and it's on a 20 by 10-foot piece of wood. And if you were at Idlewild, I'm going to assume this is the same group that was at Idlewild that spent like an entire weekend making these beautiful paintings, or making a painting, and I have to assume these are the same people. So there, it's absolutely gorgeous, and that was on display. There was a gentleman who played the Star Spangled Banner on his guitar to open, or the national anthem on his guitar. Uh, Wes, who is the gentleman from Revolution, if you guys are familiar with that band, ended up, he's here. He's on the celebrity team for Innova, but then was also here and ended up jumping on stage and playing some drums. It was just really cool. There was a lot of things going on for sure. Missy Gannon came up and had accepted her trophy, another trophy type situation from last year, and said a few words. And Paul Macbeth also came up and did the same. And if you saw my Instagram, there's a little bit of that on there. All right. So hopefully that kind of answers it, but not. I need to do more research, I think, is the takeaway there as to the artist and what's going on there. I don't know where theirs are going, where they're being displayed, if they're for sale, if somebody's commissioned them. I don't know if they're just showing off incredible artwork that they're doing at each event. I don't know the story. So sounds like I've got my own homework to do. Remind me, but don't. Okay. Do not curse in the chat. There could be women in here. Fair enough. I still probably will. I'm sorry. Hook me up with any chance we still here? Possibly? Did it continued? Whew. All right. Hotel Wi-Fi is super solid here. Holy cow, I believe it's still going. Welcome back. Hotel Wi-Fi, it's just this is gonna bite me probably every night. Somebody remind me, or just remember, every night at this time, it's probably gonna kick me off and then refresh the IP. And thankfully it kept me connected. I need a little technical difficulty. And then maybe here's what I'm gonna do. Remind me, people. You guys are so good. Remind me that I should take a quick commercial or technical difficulty break at exactly 11:09 Central each night if I'm on. And then I don't know, maybe I'll get a beverage or something and come back. And then at that point, I'm resetting my internet and hopefully it just stays connected. So if you guys are good, we're back. We're back. We got you. Good. Thank you. Anyway, this happened last night during the podcast. So, what I was saying is, oh, as Kristen said, she didn't recognize me, and she said she never wears a hat, and then she said she liked my hat. I'm gonna show you guys. This is currently a one of a kind disc golf guy hat, and it's a prototype. And I've had enough people say that they would be interested in one that I'm going to have to make at least four now because there's been at least four of you. But seriously, I'm going to do a bunch of different colors, and this is literally just a one of one. But I'm going to do a bunch of different colors. I'll do hat and then logo, color, different color combos, and those will all be available at shop.thediscgolfguy.com. Shop.thediscgolfguy.com. So anyway, I then said to her, "Well, I'm gonna have to get you one." And she said, "Well, I'd wear that one. I like that one." So sounds like I've got work to do. I mean, if the world champ wants a hat, I'm gonna give her a hat. All right. So hopefully we're all back. Wi-Fi. Yeah, well, yeah. I got all that. Okay. Um, Good to see you, Guardian Alien. Yeah. I'm gonna so back. Um Third, waiting for when you're back. Jared Black and Logan Walden did the painting. Thank you, Derek. Please, you'll have to inform us of more, and I'll have to get more of a story and get back to you. It's kind of funny. I don't know why I'm wearing these. I don't really need to be. I don't have any guests. Um, no, we didn't break the internet. Use your phone hotspot. No. Again, the Wi-Fi is great. It just at this exact time. This must be the exact time I connected the first night I was here, and so it's on a 24-hour loop, and then it kicks you off, and all I got to do is click like two buttons, and it brings me right back. All right, gonna say this again, and so you've got your research done. Jared Black and Logan Walden from Athens, Ohio, did the artwork. Bidding starts at 5K. Money goes to the courses Carmageddon and the Black G or something like that. Awesome. Derek, I appreciate it. And call that a free plug or not, I don't care. But yes, very cool. Um, yeah, and are there multiples? Are they continuing to sell them? What's kind of how does somebody get those home? Like I feel like it doesn't even fit in a truck bed. Like you need a moving truck or a semi trailer to get some of those around. But either way, uh, awesome to see. Cody says, random observation. There are no airspace regulations over Winthrop currently. The disc golf guy, what is keeping spectators from flying drones over the event? That's a good question. I don't know where media rights do or don't start and stop. Um, Yeah, and then obviously if you have your 107, is it 107A or whatever that license is, the drone license? If you don't have that, then I know there's restrictions about flying over people and about over traffic and things of that nature. If you have your 107, lots of different things apply or don't apply to you. So anyway, to make a long story short, I don't know. I'll just generically say I really don't know what's to stop someone. Um, I know if you were doing it and it was distracting and or interrupting anything that was happening, I guarantee it wouldn't be met with you wouldn't be met with a lot of excitement. And also I'm just guessing, you're probably not getting that great or worthwhile footage is just a guess, but maybe you are. I don't know. I can't speak to any of that. Let's just call it the Great Reset. Okay. Where is Philo? Where is Philo as commentator? Can you send DOS in the field? We may not the rest. I'm not sure I'm following your. Where is Philo as commentator? I think you're saying where is he? He'll be located. Him and Ian are literally 75 feet from hole one's tee. They're inside the shack or inside the clubhouse area that is located just behind hole one's tee, in a very nice now studio where they were last year. And that's where Juliana and Charlie and Zoe will also be. And then Elaine I don't know why I just said Elaine. Ian and Philo will also be in there as well. So I'm not sure. Yeah. There will be a whole series of 18 paintings. Terry is out there with I don't know what that is. Geese will take out any drones. Yeah, possibly. Drone noise can be very distracting. Totally agree. It can be. You need to be licensed to fly a drone in a licensed airspace. Yes. And again, clearly, I don't know all the details. I know there's a lot of restrictions. And then when you're flying where you shouldn't be, I don't know how people come after you or what happens. Terry could take down an elephant with a 22, like a gun. I'm not elephant hunting anytime soon. I can believe there was one or two series. There are 3 panels. They sell the prints at the event. Our booth was 45 feet from them all weekend at Idlewild. I gunned seltzer with Jared. That sounds like a good weekend. JVD, bring the drone down a little lower when following flights, please. That's not JVD who's flying that, so to speak. That is one of a couple different drone operators that we have. So I think there's this catch 22. You get down too close. The last thing in the world, I've said this literally for 5 years now, the worst thing in the world that could ever happen, besides the noise possibly distracting a player, or one falling on somebody, which obviously it shouldn't do when you have licensed professionals. But besides the noise distraction, the possibility of a drone getting hit and then affecting the flight of a disc, I don't want to, it wouldn't end all droning in our sport, but it would continue. It would be much harder sell to keep going if somehow a drone got hit and was interfered with by getting hit, because that's on the drone operator. That's not on the thrower of the Frisbee. That's the drone operator. So you can get close, but only so close for some multiple reasons. All right. What are you most excited to see this week? I don't know. I mean, cheesy and generic. Great play. Um, I think it's always exciting to see what world champions do. They've captured a major, and there's other major winners here, of course, but what world champions specifically do when they arrive here, and people that have gotten a world championship, and then how do they come here and play? And I just think in general, and obviously Paul, is trying to defend. But I noted in the press conference, and just you look at his bio, he's won in 15, 18, and 21 uh, every 3 years, whatever that means. Um, and just think, by the time he won in 15, that was what, the Grand Slam year. But in 15, he was already 12, 13, 14. He was a 4-time world champ before he got his first USDGC. Coincidence, irony, I don't know. Causation, correlate. We'll just throw out some names or words there. I don't know. Ryan says, I imagine players would get used to drone noise pretty quickly. It's like sleeping with a fan on. Eventually, they'll be thrown off when you don't hear the noise. Yeah, I maybe or maybe not. I mean, I don't love the any drone noise. Yeah. Jay says long rifle. I gotcha. Beer o'clock. Yeah. Is there remote control airships, blimps that could be used instead of drones? I wonder. There's no way that would be more economical or practical at this point with the advancement of drones of all sorts of levels. I mean, you have everything from a $200 drone to a $1,200 drone to a $3,500 drone, and then $35,000 drones. I can't imagine that they're at this stage with technology. I don't think we're gonna ever see blimps be a viable option within disc golf. It just doesn't make sense with how good drones are at this point. Um, just get a wireless pineapple to knock one out of the sky. Guess a blimp would suck if the wind, very much so. Terry, you have kept me very entertained since I saw your video at the Maricopa Open, where I was living at the time, and I love your commentary so much. Keep being awesome. That's all too kind of you, the Bird Man. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. What Was it 2014 when Paul lost to Will after Johnny self-destructed on 17? Was that the year? I mean, Will won 3 times and he won on every other year. Was it 14, 16, 18? 12? It's I know it sounds silly. I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to actually go look. Um yeah, just crazy. I mean, just think of the drama that we've seen unfold so many times. Any rangefinders are rangefinders banned from the event? Personally, I don't think they should be allowed at most pro level events. There's a lot to break down there. First of all, no, they're not banned. Second of all, I don't think they should be banned at some events and not others. I think it's an all or nothing thing. And for decades, we'll call it, rangefinders were not allowed at disc golf tournaments. And in the last few years, we've seen them become allowed, and now they are very, very much a part of the game. I personally, call it cheating or otherwise, I personally feel like if we didn't allow rangefinders, the technology on phones and GPSing was likely going to outpace us anyway. And my perfect example would be you pull up UDisc and you're out on the course and you pull up UDisc and it's telling you how far you are from the pin and you didn't even do that work. UDisc has already got a lot of those in there. It tells you how far you are from the pin anyway. And I know you could say, okay, well then you could ban all phones. Well, while we're at it, we're gonna have to ban all smartwatches. So whether you love or hate rangefinders, I can understand the arguments. I just feel like if it wasn't Bushnell and the rangefinders that we have now, and those be gaining in popularity, I feel like there would have been 100 other ways that we would be getting that information, and people could either sneak it or be overt about it anyway. I mean, just think how smart phones and watches are right now that you just simply look at your watch and in a quick glance in 2 seconds, 238 to the pin. Okay. So, uh, even if I did even though I may be a little bit of a purist and believe that rangefinders shouldn't be allowed because that should be an element of the game that you have to hone and develop. I've certainly have subscribed to that mentality, being maybe a little bit old school and a purist. But times change, and like I said, even if it wasn't allowed, it'd be too easy to cheat it anyway. Is how I feel. All right. Come on, Terry. The drone is over the tee box. It's not getting hit, and we know that JV literally isn't flying them, but he's pushing the buttons back at the studio. I mean, sometimes it's over the tee box. Sometimes it's out in the middle of the field. Sometimes it's at a swing point. You think of hole 17 at GMC, for instance, where it was up way up above in the middle of the fairway, but way up, and it was at it just simply pan from, in that case, right to left as it was following the disc on the tee to as a big hyzer. But the position it was in, it was just simply panning from right to left to show the disc going to the basket. The drones can be in tons of different places. I just, knock on wood, one never gets hit in any capacity. That's all. And I don't think it will. I'm just putting it out there. Based on the angles of the drone shots I've seen, DGN, they're flying at least 200 to 300 feet up. I don't think even double G could reach that. Ban everything. No pencils and math, Caesar either. Yeah. I mean, who wants to be interneting or mathing? Why is the PDGA only coming to one California course in 2023? We have great weather and a lack of bugs. Makes no sense. Without me getting too feisty, I will just simply say, as usual, you need courses, you need sponsorships, you need local organizing committee, and you need it to be at the right time. And even if you have all of those things, you're not guaranteed anything. So you first and foremost need a course that challenges professionals at the highest level. It has to be available and ready for use and good to go. You may need one, you may need two of those, but before you even need that, before you even get that far, you need a person and or organizing committee and club that can successfully pull off an event. That's it. Like, and that's not it in in a downplaying way, but you need that. You or me or anyone just simply wishing it maybe a bad analogy or not, but that's like sitting at home and saying, "Man, I really wish they'd put up a Chick-fil-A next to my house." Let's make up some random restaurant. A Chick-fil-A next to my house. Why isn't there one here? We don't have one near us. Put up a Chick-fil-A. It'd be great. A bunch of us would go to it. I'd love it. Well, guess what? It has to fit within Chick-fil-A's. I don't believe I'm using them as an example, but it has to fit within their business structure and demographics and everything else for whatever area. And it has to be land available in that case. But most importantly, there has to be somebody that wants to put up the money to put a franchise Chick-fil-A there. And if that person doesn't exist in that area or isn't interested in putting one up, it stops right there. And that's the same thing for tournaments. You need someone or some qualified committee, not just any Joe Schmo off the street. You need a qualified person and committee and group of people that are willing and able and desiring to put this massive event on their back. So when you don't see one, it likely starts with the fact that no one asked to have one. Likely. That's most often the scenario. And I get it as a fan and as a viewer and as a staunch supporter of tournaments or companies or players. It's what you want. It's what you crave. But just wanting it doesn't do anyone any good. You need somebody willing to run the event. And I think you could take everything I just said and apply it to like 90% of the complaints out there that say, why isn't there a tournament in X? Why don't we have one? It's because somebody didn't put in a bid and or is qualified to run one most often. I'm going to hopefully only have to use that one once this week. You're going to see 1 million people at the Stockton, California course next year because there's just one event in California, bro. Thanks for being cool, by the way. You're welcome. Hopefully, hopefully everybody turns out. And maybe, just maybe, you go to the event. I think you're talking about OTB. You go to the event, and there's somebody at the event that's been running tournaments for 3 years. They have their eye on a piece of property. They already administer or work closely with a very quality course somewhere else in California. And then that person says, "Man, I see what they're doing here. I think I could go raise 50 grand. I think I could get 50 to 100 volunteers. I think I could be super flexible on my weekend. And I've run some medium scale events. And after all of that, then they can then reach out to the PDGA or the Pro Tour and say, we'd like to be considered to host an event." And even then, you're still not guaranteed anything, but all of those things need to fall into place. So you're right. Maybe if a million people, as you're exaggerating, but 10,000 people show up to this tournament in Stockton, maybe there's somebody in the crowd that then checks all those boxes and is like, yeah, I'd like to put that on my plate. God bless them, whoever that next person is. All right, just imagine how much more my house would be worth. I'm not. Oh, if you guys are talking about Chick-fil-A's and Zaxby's. $9.99 from Jay Santos. To the best and most real broadcaster in disc golf. My personal favorite. Oh, come on! I don't even have the right chart up to be seeing the YouTube. I'm literally reading it off my other little broadcast system. So that is very, very kind of you, Jay. Holy cow! I should be reading this here. I can even reply here. That's awfully kind of you, Jay. I really appreciate that. The super chat. I feel like I should keep track of all super chats for the week and then have a giveaway. I don't think any of you would argue with that, would you? When is DGPT going to get a mega sponsor like Ford, Nike, AT&T, Red Bull? I mean, there's been some household names. They might not be your household, or they might not be products or services you currently use, but just just quickly, very short-term memory brings me to last year's guaranteed rate, which is a nationwide outfit. LL Bean has stepped up and has been some form of major sponsor. Johnsonville, represent Wisconsin, all the sausage makers there. Johnsonville is just north of the Milwaukee area, eastern coast of Wisconsin. But Johnsonville is I don't know if they're worldwide, but they're at least nationwide name brand sausage producer and meat factory. Those are all just off the top of my head from the last couple of years. And now you just saw the announcement, of course, about Barbasol being, the shaving cream company and what they do as a sponsor of the Pro Tour Championship next week. And I'm guessing, and also when we see grip belts, grip 6, sorry, getting because we have grip EQ and we have grip 6. Grip 6, which was well into, making belts that I think have been on, I don't know, on the moon or something. But Grip 6 is a nationwide chain. We've had Keen involved. Now, are they throwing a lot of money at us? I don't know. Is it going to continue to probably grow and thrive? I'm guessing it so. I mean, it's all stepping stones. Just be careful what you wish for, because I'll just make up a fake scenario. I'm going to play what if. What if AT&T comes along? I'll just use them. They come along and they say, we want to sponsor. We want to give you guys $1 million for your final event of the year. But here's like a whole bunch of really goofy stipulations. We want every basket elevated by 6 feet so that our AT&T banner can fly underneath. We want this. And I'm truly just making this up out of thin air. But to some degree, just think of that give and take. And at what point will we sell out for that kind of money? Something that might seem crazy. And then you're like, well, if they're dangling 7 figures in front of us, could we elevate every basket 9 feet? It would be weird, but for 7 figures, are we doing it? Probably we are. So those are things that I think about when it comes to, some of those opportunities that may or may not come about. Salmon commercial. Yeah, there you go. What's with the PDGA rule on Black Ace? Do you mark it like it's in a tree? Is there relief? There's no relief generally, unless somebody has declared as much, the tournament director, ahead of time, but there's not relief. You treat it like it's a picnic bench. Picnic table, picnic bench. Did I just say that? A bench or a picnic table or a grill. So unless the tournament director clarified that you get some form of relief from certain items or certain genre of items or elements, no, you treat it like it's a tree, and you go accordingly. Zuka also has been a big sponsor, of course. UPS is sponsoring this weekend. Are they, or do we just have UPS trucks? Well, yes, I'll say this. There's often been UPS trucks at the USDGC. I feel like we use them. They use it in some kind of a storage capacity. Obviously, millions of discs are shipped everywhere via UPS every year in general. I can't speak to locally. UPS very much could be locally sponsoring the event. That wouldn't surprise me. You also have to say metal roofing 100 times. Yeah, I mean, and rightfully so. If they put up 30, 50 grand, whatever it was, to buy that insurance policy, damn right they want their name said, and you can't blame them, right? I mean, what if our friends at Hooligan, I'll give them a shout out. What if our friends at Hooligan Discs said, yeah, we've got 7 figures for you, but you have to say yeet, 3 times a hole. Money talks. I didn't even see. Yeah, like the stupid yeet product placement. I'm not. I mean, it's. Let's put it this way. Here we are talking about it. It seems like they're winning. Whether you're complaining about it, whether you're picking on me or giving me a hard time about it, which isn't fair, but whatever the case might be, people are often talking about you. You might be saying it that you're frustrated with it, or you hate it, or it's cringe, or it's dated, or whatever you want to say. But by golly, there's a lot of people talking about Hooligan Discs and the Yeet. So all press is good press. You're welcome, Terry. Us everyday blokes relate to you. Oh, thanks, Jay. Um, the painting USDGC this weekend. Ooh, are we getting spammed? Oh, come on, bring it. Don't click on those dating websites, guys. I would recommend not doing that. Let me do a little cleaning up if I can. Yeah, that's not even a good site, people. I mean, don't click on that. Hide user, report, put user in timeout. I don't know how that all works. I think I've got most of these. Remove. I don't know. Hopefully, I've got them taken care of. Yeah. Do I need some more moderators out here? I think I should. Who are my most trusted people? I can give you guys wrenches. Okay. Is this removed? What a pain. Sorry, I'm slacking. Yeah, Ryan, get on it. Thoughts on Barry's storyline? Thoughts on the Barry storyline? With regard to what? That he's a multiple-time champion here. He's a multiple-time world champ. He's one of our elder competitors this weekend. I think that's the correct way to word that. The fact that Barry Schultz could absolutely win this tournament. I mean, those are all. If that's what you're looking for a storyline, I could buy into all that. Did you see my question about high bridge and remote courses? I did not, Jacob. So if you want to repeat it, we're not doing a real good job of talking about pre-event stuff. An hour and here's maybe what is the best, most exciting news of the day for me. Some of it. When coming to the hotel, coming back from the players meeting, and then I stopped quickly at the grocery store. When I walked in, not only did I see Dan Cashin, but I also saw USDGC champion Steve Brinster. Why is that exciting? Because Steve Brinster all but officially committed to coming over here to my room to join me at least for one night. And that excites the heck out of me. So look forward to one of these nights. I don't know when and how it's going to go down, but he has an open invite to join me on any given night. He is absolutely welcome to. And I know Steve's not up watching right now. He's got other things to do. But some night, Steve Brinster, USDGC champion, as he is staying here as well with his family. Looking forward to him joining us. It's going to be incredible. I'm really excited about that. So that was random, great, dumb luck. Great luck. That's the thing. Best adult site. Yes, probably. Okay. Logan Walden. I'm going to say it again. Artwork is beautiful. I agree. And Cody says, yes, that Barry could win. Absolutely. Could. Jacob says, Terry, being familiar with Wisconsin, you must know of what have been to High Bridge Hills, the course on the Pro Tour caliber. The courses are Pro Tour caliber, but there's such an issue with the remoteness of the courses. Do you think there will ever be a world where remote courses can host large scale events? Jacob. Yes. I played in the World Championships in 2007. That Doss fellow won, but I was there. Did I finish 27th in the Worlds? No, we're gonna Google it, people. And just so you know, I'm not making stuff up. I'll go to the page where you can watch because you really care. That was one of my better World Championships. The funny part about it was I was just coming off of running Am Worlds. So I ran Am Worlds along with my team the week prior, starting way back on like Friday or Saturday, ran it for the 7 days into Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening. And then on Sunday, packed my stuff up and got into a minivan with some buddies and got into their van and then went straight to Pro Worlds and then went on to have my best Pro Worlds finish ever. Let's look it up, people, because I know you're dying to know what I did at that Pro Worlds. I know you're not. I don't blame you, but I do want to know, just to make sure I'm not making stuff up, making up too much. Let's click on that. We're gonna share. Hang with me. Here we go. I'm going to click on this, which brings me to, I don't know, Rock Hill. That's kind of not where I want to be. So I'm going to just type in PDGA 2007 Pro Worlds. That should get us there. Oh, come on. Right, Bridge Hills to PDJ 2007 World Championships. I'm just too lazy to click like 6 other places. That would make more sense to do it. So I'm going to do it here. There we go. Got it. Nate Doss. I didn't lie. Nate Doss, your champion, beating out Marcus Salstrom, one of the highest ever then finishers, European finishers out of Sweden. And then you scroll on down. Some of these names, there's Barry Schultz in 12th, Greg Barsby, 16th, Eric McCabe, who I played with during one of the early rounds, Steve Brinster, who I was just referencing. His PDJ number is just 120 off of mine. Nicola Castro, Kristen Dietrich, one of the longest throwers on the planet. My good buddy Mike Schwieger, who cashed in the doubles with me just before it. And I apologize. I was thinking 27th. It looks like I finished 36th. See, I want to give myself too much credit. Nate Sexton edged me out by 2. Yeah, 36th. You guys may definitely recognize some of these names. Don Smith, Philo. Yeah, I got you, Philo. So Colin Sexton, Nate's brother, so on and so forth. Kim Scott Wood, who's now made a resurgence. Paul Ulibarri, where are you at now, Paul? I don't care if you were like 10. No, he had just won Am Worlds in 2006. But yeah, lots of great people here. I'm not going to go on and on. But anyway, point is, yeah, 36th, I think, was my best Worlds finish. And what do you get after a week of playing at Worlds at the time? You probably spent $225 or maybe $175 to play. And so after a week of it, 235. And that's the most proud 235 I probably won at any point. I will take it. So there you go. I don't know what we were talking about. Oh, High Bridge. So anyway, yeah, High Bridge is in northern Wisconsin, way up there. In fact, I think this might be kind of a fun thing to do. High Bridge Hills map. So this is in way northern Wisconsin. A gentleman by the name of Tom runs it. Mountain Man is his nickname. And I'm just going to put this on the map for you in terms of northern Wisconsin. I call this like southern Canada. So High Bridge Hills, located there in the center of your screen. When you ask me, hey Terry, what's the Nope, not that High Bridge Hills. Holy cow, that didn't work. Here we go. When you ask me where my favorite place in the world is to play, I'm going to tell you guys Sandy Point Resort, which is just moments away from where Adam Hammis grew up and played. So that's Sandy Point Resort is going to be right here, probably in this general area. It's just a little north of there. Wow, holy cow. Here we go. There's even a little, yeah, there it is. So this is my favorite place in the world to play disc golf. Been playing there since I was like 14 or 15. Northern Wisconsin, bed and breakfast, not a bed and breakfast, cabins. One of the greatest places literally on the planet, right? To go play disc golf and to visit and to be. So that's in northern Wisconsin. Just to put that in perspective as I zoom out, I'm down here in the Milwaukee area. That's Sandy Point. We're practically in Michigan, upper Michigan and Canada area. And then High Bridge Hills, as I was just talking, is right here. Even more north, just a half hour or so short of Lake Superior. That's a long way up there. So if you go from High Bridge to Milwaukee area, you're looking at like 5.5, 6 hours, something in that neighborhood. You're better off flying to the Twin Cities and then coming over if you are. So there's Minneapolis, there's Sandy Point and High Bridge, which is way up there. Also 4.5, 5 hours. You're in the middle of nowhere. Well, not nowhere. You're in the middle of very northern Wisconsin, the UP, Lake Superior, and then there's Canada all up there. Pitter patter, let's get at her. So To answer your question, could it be remote? Yeah, I mean, you have signal challenges. I think that's the number one issue. If you want to have live, you have signal challenges, and then who's going to support that? And by support, I mean to have infrastructure not only of at the place, but is there enough lodging? Is there enough for fans to get there? Will fans come there? And then where is money generated in terms of supporting? Are you going to get your local mom and pop shop can't put up 5 grand to sponsor it? They'll probably make that back, hopefully, but you're just generating sponsors from such a small community can be very, very challenging. So could big events happen up there? Yeah, they could. There just has to be all these other things taken into consideration. And High Bridge had an owner named John at the time. Shortly after the World Championships, it felt as if maybe some struggles caught up with him in terms of running the place and running it in the black, I guess. And then ultimately it was sold off, and now they're talking about who's going to kind of take it over and continue to run it. You're talking about a couple hundred acres with 5 or 6 or 7 courses on it. That's a lot of upkeep, and when you're in the middle of there and almost in the middle of nowhere, it's damn near impossible to generate enough people to continue to come there. You move that 2 or 4 hours south, and it's clearing millions of dollars in greens fees every year. It's just incredible. The problem is it's up in the middle of nowhere. There's more cows up there than there are people. And so it can be very difficult. I hope that answers you. Miss Mike Randolph. Yeah, great guy. Terry, you should live stream taking the survey. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Terry was Disc Golf Rich 225, yes, or 235. I need all that money. Disc Golf Rich. Seems that the need for live streaming and camping and hotels for spectators, courses like Highbridge won't get considered. It's a debate topic among my friend group. Understandable. Yeah, I mean, we kind of just touched on all those. Jay says, I've seen old footage of you playing amateurs, Terry. Terry, you were good. You didn't see old footage of me playing amateurs. You saw me probably playing professionally. If there was footage of me in 99 or earlier, I'd be shocked. Oh, no, there is. I've got some funny trash talking with Dave Felberg in like 98, 99, when I used to go over to Kalamazoo, Michigan to play a lot. And at one point we had an old camcorder along with us, and had a hole or two to play, and it was a big backup, and we're just talking trash in a friendly, competitive way. And that tape will someday get found and busted out again. I have it somewhere. But yeah, I got to the highest rating of 995, which Eric McCabe says with ratings inflation thinks is like a current day 1020. He might be making that up, but I'm gonna reference it and take it every time. Cody says, disregarding total purse, what event excites you most and will for some time? DGPT finale or USDGC at Winthrop? Winthrop is key here. At Winthrop is the key. MVP, I mean, come on. Just so many people love it. You heard everybody just gush about it. I have this long history with Steve Dodge and the family and what he's done for the sport and for me and for just truly everyone. So that's an event that I just, everybody looks forward to, whether you're on site or even when I'm not. Um, and more I'm looking forward to these international events just because it broadens our horizon. And in Thailand at Koh Samui, where I'm going in February, is it the best course in the world? Absolutely not. No one's going to claim that. But you're on an island in Thailand, and those experiences and the travels and meeting all the international people is what excites me. I think one of the best events on the planet isn't even, well, I guess it's technically sanctioned, but you win nothing other than like a bottle of wine that Philo's won, is in Croatia at the Drava Forester. I could talk to you guys for 4 hours about how incredible the Drava Forester is. And it's one round of golf a day with a lot of social activity outside of that. That's an event everyone in their life should experience. It's unreal. So there's a few quick ones for you. And I enjoyed Japan in 2008 and 2010. Again, that was some of my first international travels for disc golf. All right. Get Kelvin back on. That's a no-brainer. If I can, I will. Um, how's the we talked about that last year. Missy Gannon was the only FPO player to finish under par. She shot 2 under. I'll tack onto that. Do you predict the ladies buck that trend and shred this year? Weather conditions look great. I do think scoring will probably be better. Why, I don't know. I mean, Missy even said it herself in the press conference. She said, "Yeah, I feel like the year before the winner was like 20 strokes better, and I don't know what was different, but I won with 2 under." She was literally the only woman under par. Kona was in second with her even. Um, yeah, I don't know what to say to that, but I think we're gonna see some good scores this year. All right, here's what we're gonna do quickly since I allegedly promised a preview. Let's click on a couple of the cards, and it's very much a tradition at this event that during the players meeting the night before the event, which is so funny because everyone loses their minds when this happens at Worlds, but the USDGC's tradition of doing it, I don't want to say gets a pass, but I mean, it's been the tradition forever. But at Worlds this year, tons of players are just losing their shit because they're like, I don't know when I play tomorrow, which is fair to want to know because that's customary. But USDGC also has done it this way forever, and nobody's squawking about it. And I'm not ripping on USDGC. I'm just saying there's a odd double standard that I don't understand there. Anyway, moving right along, I'm going to go to UDisc Live, and I'm just going to quickly pull it up and talk about the. Let me click here for you guys. So you don't have to just see my face. And I just want to scroll down. We're gonna start only because I'm here. We're gonna start with the men, real quick. I think it's interesting. You click on the win probability, and the defaults are listed there. At this moment, give me one moment in time. I listened to Whitney Houston right before I went live tonight. No joke, no cap, as the kids say. Ricky, 18% favorite for the probabilities, 17% for Macbeth, Orem 12, Dickerson 9, Gannon Burr 9, Heimberg at 6%, Simon Lazat, who had a 3% chance on Sunday morning going into the final round at Maple Hill, wins. He has a 3% chance to win this tournament as of right now before the tournament starts. So make whatever you want of those, but 18 and 17% respectively for Ricky and Paul. I think that's interesting. I'm only so much of a numbers guy, but I do find that very interesting. So before we even get there, though, scrolling down, just taking a quick look, there's a couple people where you see some groups that really jump out at you. Joseph Anderson, we said earlier, got into it via the Monday qualifying. Ilkin Grow had won the US Am Nationals earlier this year. So it'd be interesting to see both Ilkin and Paul Kranz. They've had kind of these historic amateur seasons. Taking a look at some of the other, I'll call them powerhouse groups. You got like Austin Hannum, Gannon Burr. I don't know Henar and Kevin Kiefer. That looks like a pretty fun group. And then, I just mentioned Paul Kranz, an Am Worlds winner, along with Nate Sexton, Brinster, Fry, Ian Bichette, who also got in on the Monday qualifying, along with Alden Harris. Obviously, these are all superstars, so it's a great set of people to be watching. Lots of great groups here, but Silas, Matthew, Tuamis, and is it Thomas or Tuamis? Tuamis, and Andrew Presnell. I don't know. Is there any groups that jump out for you guys? That's what I'd love to hear. Continue to scroll. Thomas Gilbert, Nicholas Antala, and Barry Schultz, along with double. Oh, nope. Sorry. Mixing them up. Cody Kirkland, Gavin Rathbun, Thomas Gilbert, and Nicholas. I do appreciate somebody pointed out to me. Actually, it was Thomas Ekstrom over at Latitude sent me a private message last week saying it's Nicholas. There's no O in there. And honestly, I'd never looked closely enough. I totally blame myself. That's where I'd like to say I can grow and learn and improve. But Nicholas, as opposed to Nicholas, like you would typically see. My bad. I apologize, but hopefully I'll get it right from here on out. Scrolling down again, lots of great cards. I mean, you're talking about so many superstars. The 150 card looks pretty entertaining. You got Coling, Proctor, Austin Turner, previous champion Chris Dickerson. That's a great card. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could just continue to say this, but our final cards that you're most likely to see most of during the broadcast, and this is that's the way I'll word that, is your second to last card of the day: Anthony Barella, Mason Ford, Kyle Klein, and Evan Smith. And then your final feature card of round one: Barsby, Oram, Macbeth, and Robinson. What? Pretty crazy. So, any takes on that? Any takes on that? As I'm reading the board, Terry, when will you be filming in Arizona again? It's so great to have such commentary on local courses. Yeah, in fact, somebody from Arizona just reached out. My buddy Dan did. I think I'm going to be back there for the PLO, the Phoenix Ladies Open, and super excited to help promote that event as I have been for the last few years. What happened to McFly tournament coverage? He moved on, I guess, is maybe the way I'd word that. I don't know if there was a falling out or not. I don't know what the scenario is, but he is no longer filming tournaments. He had some deal with Prodigy for a while. Again, I don't know how that unfolded. We have good microbrew in California. Terry no longer drinks beer. He is into barrel-aged barley wine. You probably never heard of it. It's hard to get. Yeah. I said, as I said to, I'm going to sidetrack for, I know, when aren't we sidetracking? I had the pleasure of meeting up with a Wisconsin buddy who ultimately worked at Innova for a few years, and then an Innova employee, a current Innova employee. So the three of us ended up having some lunch together yesterday, and we had a conversation about beverages and bevel and whatever my newfound favorites in these barrel aged stouts and ales. And I likened it to, I said, I've finally have settled on something that I really genuinely love and enjoy, and I'm in it for the taste. I said, the problem is, it's like saying, hey, I have a new favorite disc that I absolutely love. Yeah, it's a second run T-Bird that's 170 grams, a CE T-Bird that's 170 grams. Like, just very specific, expensive, and hard to come by. I feel like an idiot for those reasons, because I always tell people, don't fall in love with old out of production discs or expensive discs. And yeah, it's been an interesting journey for the beverages that I like. But then again, they're not available everywhere, and that's probably a good thing too. I like that I can't just go get some whenever I want. It's probably better. Not that drinking's a real priority to me anyway. So bum Johnny McRae didn't qualify. Totally agree. I feel like Terry probably makes his own mead. I don't know what mead is. Mead? I don't know what that means. I want Sexton mic'd up for a DGPT live commentary. That'd be interesting. Any thoughts on Colton's take about USDGC being, well, I guess he thinks it's flaky. He didn't qualify. Yeah, we kind of even touched on it. We touched on it with Jonathan Poole, in fact, today, who's one of your event coordinators and organizers. And Jonathan Poole, I think very diplomatically said, yeah, Colton's take likely came out of just a lot of frustration. Colton had said something on his Instagram to the effect of, I didn't qualify for the event. I'm not super bummed though, because I feel like it's gimmicky and it used to be prestigious. And then I think the next day he came back and said, hey, I understand a lot of you guys are worked up about my post, but I also feel like I can have my own opinion, which I also do agree with. As we said on the podcast, and I'll say all over the place, if he qualifies, and maybe this is what Jonathan Poole is referencing too, if he qualifies and he's in and he's playing tomorrow, he's probably not making that post. He may or may not feel it, but he's not making that post. And so the timing of it just yeah, looks and he was probably really frustrated and understandably so because there are a lot of really unique characteristics and or rules and challenges at this event that you don't find anywhere else. And here's what I'll generically say. We have to find this fine line, which we'll never get to. There's a fine line for all of us as to criticism and opinions, and then like the council culture of just stating your opinion. And I think with everything you say, even stupid shit I say, there's a diplomatic way of saying some things. Sometimes people choose not to for whatever reason, whether it's on purpose or not, or they think they're being diplomatic and are botching it. I've been there, done that. I mean, it's interesting because it doesn't feel like it's not fair to say no one can have an opinion, clearly. But as we all know, sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Sometimes it is what you say. Yeah, that's what I can say all that. Robinson on the card. I get it. The sidetrack guy, that's for sure. Terry enjoys the finer things. I don't know about that. Sure. Sam Davis, Third Brew Companies in Farmville. I still use a blowfly. That's interesting. He had the whole year to play well enough to qualify. Yeah, he also did, and he's had a lackluster year for sure. Otherwise, he would have been qualified, as you're saying. So I can understand that. All right, let's check out the FPO. That's what I wanted to get to next, or check out in this case the U.S. Women's or the throw pink championship. So I think if I click on this, man, am I going to get through this without screwing up? Of course, that was the ultimate jinx. So if I go up here to our friends at UDisc, I go to throw pink women's disc golf championships up on the top. This should bring up our groups. 8 a.m. first tee time. Jessica Weiss, Maria Oliva, Heidi Line, Heidi Line, and Lisa Fakis kicking things off. Continue to read down the groups. Lots of great groups here. 840, great. I haven't seen Haley King in person, and we know that she's kind of taken a few events off. So to have her, Jennifer Allen, Sarah Holcomb, Natalie Ryan all on the same card should be exciting. I just saw for the first time today, finally, Madison Walker on site. Her, Alexis, Erica, Luke K. Like, I don't know. I mean, we obviously have 40-ish, 42 women in the field. We know them, I feel like, a little bit more intimately, except for a few people who we don't necessarily see all the time, like Carlene Green. I do not know that well, I think, at all. Hopefully I'll get to know her. And I think maybe that's the only, and I don't believe I know Christy here as well out of Estonia. I think I know I know every other female competitor personally. Those are two that I don't know. And we always have a smaller field, and it's therefore I think we know our players a little bit better. And there's just so many different storylines. Paige Shue and Sarah Cunningham, both world champions, both living within an hour of here, both qualifying on Monday. How cool is that? Paige, of course, your 2018 world champion. Sarah Cunningham, who at the time was Sarah Stanhope, won in 2010, the same year Eric McCabe did. Yeah, awesome. Absolutely awesome. Cat merch. Oh, let's take a look at, this might be the final note on the throw pink side. Let's take a look at win probabilities. You could probably guess who's a favorite, but this is almost, I'm not going to say insulting. That's not quite fair either. This is almost ridiculous. 65% win probability is what UDisc is giving Kristen Tatar. 65%, which is a huge number when you're up 5 strokes and there's 3 holes left to play, sure. But to start the event, Kristen listed with 65% chance for win is incredible. I just, and then maybe even just as shockingly, how even it is for everyone else, but way down the line. Excuse me, Paige at 7%, Katrina Allen at 5%, Owen at 4%, Valerie, Hannah, 4%, Evelina, 3%, Missy Gannon, your returning champion, 3%, and then a lot of 1% or less than. I, yeah, just I'm almost dumbfounded by how heavily skewed, and I'm obvious. I'll say rightfully so. Like the numbers back that up, but unbelievable. Kristen listed at 65%. She didn't finish outside of the podium this year. First time since Katrina Allen did that back, I believe, in 2014 or 2015. Just astonishing. That's what I can say to that. It's absolutely mind blowing to see that. So we'll keep an eye on it, everybody. Look at those percentages, whether it's a screenshot or a screen grab right now, or I think we can just click on some buttons tomorrow and make it all fancy. Just incredible. Cheers to that. What are you guys still doing here? There's 100 of you people right now. And then I'm sure tomorrow people are going to click on 2022 USDGC and they're going to be all pissed off because it's not going to have disc golf coverage or any footage. Here's something else I can't promise, but I'd like to possibly throw out there. There's a slight chance that I may be able to pull in some video, some either highlights and or pieces of coverage from throughout the day that maybe could even get further discussed for upcoming nightly recaps. Working on a few of those details. Again, that involves me pressing buttons alone and with no promises of its effectiveness. But just so you know, that might be a possibility. I shouldn't even promised it. Shouldn't even mentioned it. I should have under promise, over deliver. Yeah. Okay. Cool to see Anakin Steen come over here for this event. Totally agree. Of course, we saw her take down the Norway event, the PCS Sula Open earlier in the year. Yeah, it's great to see her here. I think since then she's gotten married. Or maybe she already was, but I believe since then she's gotten married. So that's pretty cool. Imagine not liking Simon Lizotte. What a weird world. I don't know what, unless you're frustrated by how cool he is. You're right. I can't imagine somebody not liking Simon Lizotte. And man, how powerful is that statement? Yeah. Cody says, you put on a great show, Terry. That's why we're here. Well, I do appreciate that, even though we're just talking a little disc golf here. Merch has not won yet, as far as I know. I think it's about time. Think about all the times we've seen Cat Merch on a lead card in contention. She was just leading, MVP? Green Mountain? They're all blending together. I know it's been a long year, but she was just leading an event, and that was the first time I think she had the outright lead or something like that, and obviously couldn't quite get it done at that time. But we all know it just feels like it's just a matter of what weekend will it be Cat Merch's weekend to seal the deal. I think that's a foregone conclusion for the most part. If Kristen gets a disc golf guy hat, she will be unbeatable. We'll go with that. Orem needs a win. I think a lot of people would love to see that as well. Will Nico be on the bag for Cat? I don't know. I'm going to guess not because he hasn't been, but he could be. I'm not sure. He could be, but I am not sure that he will be. Artificial hazard. Okay. All right. So what did we cover? We covered the groups, talked a little bit about winning percentages, talked about all that stuff. I did cover what we saw for the players meeting. One thing that was really unique for many years was that this was one of the few events that really set a tone and a precedent and the stage for having a semi-fancy dinner provided for free for players. And I know we all think like, who cares? How is that a big deal? 20 years ago it was to come to an event and have something that was a legitimate, banquet hall dinner provided for free to a couple hundred players, especially that weren't making Wysocki, Macbeth, Kristen Tatar, and Paige Pierce money, especially back then, it was a big deal. And we had this dinner, and that's where the golden rakes were given away, which is your kind of your volunteer of the year, recognition of sorts. And the previous champions would come up, and all of those things would happen. This year, again, not having a dinner, so to speak, but having so many other festivities and this outdoor experience. I gotta say I enjoyed it more. Um, yeah, they can just continue to innovate and do really cool things. And this year, and all I kept thinking is, oh, thank God it's not raining, because then it would have sucked. But gorgeous weather, so it was a win for everybody. Speaking of wins, I feel like I got a significant win in that. Um, as I mentioned, I had lunch with a couple of the with an ex Innova employee and a current one, and one of my favorite parts, maybe this is an answer to something that was asked earlier. One of my favorite parts personally throughout the years, and I know a lot of players will tell you this, being able to go to the Innova factory, excuse me, the Innova warehouse, even though I've seen tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of discs in my life, to go to the Innova warehouse to then see uh, KC AVRs, something I enjoy putting with, to see 10 boxes of KC AVRs, and then they're arranged from, 165 to 170, 165 to 167, 68 to 170, 170 to 172, and then 173 to 175. Whatever. All these different boxes, they're already kind of prearranged by those weights. And then you pull down the box, or you pull over the box and you look in it, and then you pull back like the near side of the box, and then you can kind of just scan down and see where all the colors are, even though they're 25 or 30 deep. You see what the colors are, and then you start rooting through, and then you're like, oh wow, I love these aqua colored ones. And then you pull out 50 aqua colored ones, and then you start getting really picky about what stamp color they are. And then you get two that are perfectly matched, like identical, same stamp color, same whatever. That's a highlight. It doesn't get old. I maybe don't spend quite as much time as I used to, and I also don't go through or throw as many frisbees as I used to, but definitely a highlight of being at this event. And I know the players feel the same. I saw Ellen Widboom at the factory, the warehouse. I saw Anthony Barella, and when those are of course team members. If they so choose, they can actually then take their discs, and then they'll hand pick a bunch of discs. They're all have different allotments. Some are picking up their full year's allotment, some aren't, but they'll pick out their allotment or a number of discs, and then they can leave them behind. And Innova will then take them in the next couple days, and they'll stamp the little mini Innova logo on them to make them team stamped. And it sounds probably minor, but it's part of an experience, and it's been going on for 20 years. And there's a lot of players, especially a lot of players on Innova, that don't get here all year. They're not in the area. They may often just say, hey, send me 50 of my discs. Maybe they have a 100 disc allotment, and they say at the beginning of the year, send me 50 blah blah blahs or blanks, this or that. But to go and hand pick and literally feel up, the dominess, the pop top, the stiffness, the slickness, whatever it is, on whatever your favorite models and molds are, there's something really cool about it. And you guys all know, you're diehard disc golfers. That's why you feel so much better when you're buying a disc in person and you're molesting it and fondling it, as opposed to just clicking on it online. You ultimately should do that on shop.thediscgolfguy.com. But if you have a choice, come visit in person and fondle and molest the disc that you really want, because we know everybody loves doing it. So it's one of the cooler parts of being at this event and having that opportunity to do so. So I think that answers a question from earlier as to something you look forward to, and that's definitely it. And just being in a warehouse with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of frisbees is crazy. And then I think what's maybe even blowing me away more and more year in and year out is they continue to make more models, and then you think about how that expands over 2 or 3 or 5 different plastic types. So, you see that there's an AVR in there, and there's the classic DX AVR, there's a KC Pro AVR, there's a, the AVR putt and approach. In DX plastic, there's, your Champ AVRs, your Star AVRs, your G Star AVRs, all of these different discs that then are expanded throughout all of the different plastic types. And I can say the same of being at Latitude, being at Discraft. It's crazy to think how expansive that all becomes when you start thinking about individual models, the different weight classes, and then on top of it, the different plastic types. It becomes I don't want to say overwhelming, but there's a lot to take in there. Uh DJ Heck yeah was fun to see in 2019. Yeah, of course. He was there tonight getting the crowd pumped up, making sure the music was going and everything was you've successfully created an incredible brand and you're a great human when every time someone says your name, it puts a smile on your face. And when your name is DJ Heck Yeah, I don't know how you can't but laugh or smile or have a good vibe. So he's absolutely nailed it, and has always continued to be such a bright shining star. Anytime you talk to him, but DJ Heck Yeah, love it. Course changes. Most of you guys already know, but they took out Old 3. It plays 3 to 4 now, which is a very unique hole. I don't think we're going to see a lot of birdies. A lot of players talking about how difficult it is. The women are playing it as a par 5. I think you're going to see more birdies on the women's side, but even that is going to be a difficult birdie. Hole 4 is the tunnel shot. I don't know how many birdies you're going to see there, but that is a very tight tunnel. It's it's just tight. I mean, I went over and looked at it, and I'm thinking, wow, 304 feet, like down this 8-foot tunnel or 12-foot tunnel. Now, I wonder if there's going to be any players that are going to throw essentially something kind of stable, try and go down the tunnel on 4, and then if it just goes out into the opening late, and what kind of look that gives you at the basket. That feels like it would be my play. It doesn't look like being right will do you any good. 5, they move the pin a few feet. 6, 7, 8, 9. Most of those are all the same. 10, 11 has a little bit more of that unique OB. And 13, the 13 is the 888 hole. That's probably one of the most drastic changes on the whole course. They move the pin, they move the tee. It's probably my least favorite. And I don't have to throw it, but it's my least favorite. I don't my specific problem with is I don't mind the pin. And I like that we're not throwing over parking lots. I do like all of that. I don't like that standing on the tee, you're essentially like you're staring at a mound of grass. And I get it. We throw uphill all the time. We throw on side hills, we throw straight directly uphill. I get that we do that, but it's just weird that it's just this big mound of grass and dirt directly in front of you, and you're just trying to throw around it ultimately, and you have to throw over it or around it or whatever. It, maybe it's just aesthetics, and we'll see how it plays out. I'm interested to see what the numbers look like for it, but that's my least favorite, probably my least favorite hole now, and probably my least favorite change out of all the changes that they made. So, just really heavy and straight. I don't know what that is in reference to. Tee shot is weird. Short to par 3. Yeah, I don't. I think Coling said it. Like that feels like a really big bonus, and I couldn't agree more. It feels like that's going to be a bonus birdie big time. Good luck. Brian Schweberger, come on. What are you doing, buddy? You should come on over and be a guest. I don't think you're staying far from here. So you also should be a guest. Earlier, you probably missed it, Schwebby. Brinster's staying here at the same hotel, and he said he's going to come over and join. So I feel like you're going to have to come join some night as well. I'll bring the fridge. Okay. And for also in terms of proximity, not that it really matters, but Slow Play Brewery is also within like walking distance of where I am, and I know they're supporting the USDGC, so I might find myself over there at some point just to say hi. They were really gracious last year. Um, it does look weird, but I think it makes for a nice, somewhat unique challenge and obstacle that we might see in the future. Okay, I hope not. I don't love it. I don't love staring at a mound. Just saying, okay, you got to throw over this. It's purely aesthetic. Um, Quadzilla says, I love the shot on too. Okay. Yes, we do want Schwebby. And Schwebby says, because my player is going to be teeing off late. Yeah, we know. We know. Corey Ellis is going to be doing some work out there this week and looking forward. Hopefully, he's got like a 210 or 220 or 230 tee time every day. That means Schwebby's putting in the work. And speaking of putting in the work, I don't believe this has been 2 hours. Who said this was going to be a short podcast? I did. Thank you guys for joining. Who knows what every night's going to bring, but thank you guys so much. And if you super chatted, I appreciate it. If you're a Patreon, I cannot say this enough. I want to do more for my Patreon supporters and subscribers, but having you guys is really what allows me to help keep the channel running and getting random coverage of smaller events, bigger events, whatever the case might be, and then also doing stuff like this. I really do appreciate it. So if you consider becoming a Patreon member, I very much appreciate that. You can contribute at any level you wish. And what's cool about it is the way I set up my Patreon. Everybody does it differently. I was the first creator in disc golf to use Patreon, thanks to Johnny V alerting me of the service. But the way I set it up is it's not a monthly fee, so to speak, and you put it up per creation. So some months I may only put 2 videos up, and if it's just a front and a back, I probably only have it charge for the front and don't even list it for the back. But on a slow month, if I'm not doing much, you're not paying much. And on a fast month, on a crazy busy month, maybe I put out 10 videos, which would be a lot at this pace, but I put out 10 videos, 10 rounds, which is 20 videos, but I only charge for half of the round. And you can always put a cap on it. So if you're like, hey, I'd like to support you, but and I'd like to give you $2 every time you put out a round of golf. But if some month you put out 20 rounds of golf, I need to cap that. You can set that up in Patreon and you can say, hey, after I've given old disc golf guy $6, like cut it, like no more than 6. Even if he puts up 50 videos in a month, only give him $6. You can set a cap at whatever you want as well. So I know a lot of the other disc golf content creators do just a monthly fee regardless, and that's awesome too. That's just their mechanism. I like the idea of I'm only getting paid when I'm continuing to work and put out content for you guys. So there's my plug, which I wasn't intending, but patreon.com/the disc golf guy, or just buy out the 5,000 hats I'm going to have made. Ryan says, I hope Corey does well in this tourney. Cool that you'll be on his bag, Schwabby. I couldn't agree more. Schwabby, love your work, brother. Appreciate it. Holy cow, folks, I'm going to call it. It doesn't feel that late, but it is. It's 1:30. What are you guys doing? It is 1:30 local time, 12:30 Central Time, where I usually reside, and earlier in other parts of the country, 10:30 on the West Coast. You guys are crazy. So thank you so much for watching. Oh, come on. Meester Ecart, I appreciate it. The super chat just came in. I do genuinely appreciate every little bit of that. I certainly appreciate. That's that one might support. You might become the sponsor of the backwoods tomorrow night. Corey, have a good night. I hope you and your wife and kid are well. Thanks for joining. Tommy says it's 8:25 a.m. in Finland. Come on, your day's just getting started. You can stick around for the after show, and shit might get really weird or crazy. Okay, it won't. It's only 10:30 here. It's not that bad. I agree. I mean, I'm a night owl, so here we are. I'm going to close it out because otherwise I'm going to spend 2 hours closing out the show. Thank you guys for joining. Super excited to have the likes of Schwebby, Steve Brinster. Maybe we'll get some other players that are interested in stopping by. Just me and my king size bed. So if they want to stop by, that doesn't matter. But hopefully we'll be able to break down some action every night. My top priority is to get done with the round and the interviews, to do the FPO post-production commentary. And then after I've taken a few minutes to decompress from that, that's when you're going to see me each and every night, hopefully, maybe, depending on extracurriculars, right here, giving you guys some form of nightly recap. Sound good? Sounds good to me. Oh, 2 hours on the dot. I'm closing it. Love you guys. Thanks to the Patreon supporters. Thanks to the super chatters. Thanks to USDGC, Throw Pink, Women's Disc Golf Championships. I will see you tomorrow night, probably. Thanks for joining. I got to click a button. I'm going to pretend like I'm